Hey, I'm Jack. I'm 17, a high school senior, and let's just say my life's a joke. My parents treat me like I'm invisible, mostly because I'm not the golden athlete my sister Mia is. She's 16, a year younger, but apparently flawless in their eyes. They act like she's some gift to the world, and I'm just here. Picture this. I'm living in our basement, which is basically a damp, musty dungeon. My mattress is lumpy, my desk is barely standing, and the lamp flickers like it's constantly on the edge of dying. Mia, on the other hand, has the nicest room upstairs, pink walls, fluffy carpet, and a chandelier. Yeah, an actual chandelier. I remember scoring the winning goal at my soccer game when I was around 9, thinking they'd finally be proud. They barely looked up from their phones. But when Mia won her first track meet, it was like a national holiday. Trophies, banners, you name it. School isn't much better. I'm barely scraping by in most subjects. Art is my escape. I can lose myself for hours sketching or painting. I showed Dad one of my drawings once, hoping maybe he'd be impressed. He just grunted, asking if I'd finished my chores. "Why don't you try out for a real sport instead of wasting time on that artsy crap?" he said. Thank God for Jake, my best friend since middle school. He gets it. He's always encouraging me to create. "Dude, your stuff is amazing. You gotta enter that art contest Miss Thompson told us about," he said last week. I just shrugged. What's the point? Any prize money would probably go to Mia's new running shoes. Dinner last night. A joke. Mom made this huge roast, Mia's favorite, of course. She turned to her, all smiles. "So, Mia, honey, how was practice today?" Mia launched into a long story about lap times and how her coach thinks she might qualify for state. Dad was beaming. I cleared my throat. "Oh, I got a B+ on my English essay." Crickets. Then Dad just said, "Pass the potatoes." I passed the bowl, my hands shaking, swallowing down this urge to scream, flip the table, anything to make them see me. But instead, I sat there, invisible as usual. After dinner, I headed back to my basement cave, hearing them laughing upstairs, probably planning Mia's next big celebration. I pulled out my sketchbook, letting my frustration pour onto the paper. Maybe one day they'll see me. Maybe one day I'll matter. But right now, I'm just the kid in the basement, forgotten and dreaming of the day I can break free. Then the house exploded with excitement. Mia won some big track meet. Mom and Dad were practically dancing around the living room. Our little superstar. Mom gushed, hugging Mia like she'd saved the world. Dad was on the phone, telling everyone within earshot about her victory. I slipped past them toward the door. They didn't even glance my way. At school, Miss Thompson caught me after class. "Jack, have you thought about entering the Riverside art competition? The deadline's next month." I shrugged. "What's the point?" She looked at me serious. "The point is, you have real talent, Jack. This could be a big opportunity." Her words stuck in my head that night. Then, while grabbing a snack, I overheard Mom and Dad talking in the study. Mia's coach said she could go all the way to the Olympics with the right training, Dad was saying. "But it's so expensive," Mom replied. "Where would we get that kind of money?" Silence. Then Dad said, "Well, there's Jack's college fund. It's not like he's using it." I felt like I'd been punched. I burst into the room. "You can't do that. That's my money." They looked at me, shocked. "Jack, this is a private conversation," Mom said. "Private? You're talking about taking away my future." Dad stood up, towering over me. "Listen here, young man. We make the decisions in this family." "Yeah, decisions that only benefit Mia," I shot back. "Don't you dare talk about your sister that way," Dad roared, his face red. "Or what? You'll send me back to the basement." "Oh wait, you already did." Before I knew it, Dad shoved me hard. I stumbled, slamming my arm against the desk. Pain shot through my wrist. "Get out of my sight," he growled. The next day, my wrist was swollen and purple. Miss Thompson noticed right away. "Jack, what happened?" "I don't know why, but I just broke down, everything pouring out, the basement, the favoritism, the college fund, all of it." She listened, her face growing more concerned with every word. When I finished talking, Miss Thompson took a deep breath, her expression serious. "Jack, this is serious. We need to document everything." She helped me write down dates, incidents, every single detail, and even took pictures of the bruises on my ribs. "We might need this," she said quietly, "just in case." As I left her classroom, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, someone was finally on my side. Over the next few weeks, I poured everything into my art project. Every sleepless night, every overlooked achievement, every bit of pain and frustration. All of it went onto that canvas. I worked in secret, hiding my progress from my parents. They wouldn't understand anyway. One afternoon, Mia stopped me on the way to the basement. "Hey, can we talk?" She looked hesitant, almost guilty. I eyed her suspiciously. "About what?" "I've been noticing how Mom and Dad treat you. It's not fair," she said, her voice soft. I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, you're noticing now? After all these years?" She looked away. "I'm sorry." "Save it, Mia. You've had plenty of chances to speak up. Enjoy your golden child status." I pushed past her, ignoring the hurt look on her face. Too little, too late. The next day, Jake came over, a backpack full of tiny cameras. He held one up. "You sure about this, man?" I nodded, determined. "Miss Thompson says we need solid evidence. It's the only way." We set up cameras around the house, one in the living room, another in the kitchen, and a hidden one in my basement room. It felt wrong, but I was desperate. Then, a few days later, disaster struck. I came home to find Mom and Dad standing in my basement, surrounded by shredded pieces of my artwork. "What is this garbage?" Dad bellowed, holding up scraps of my contest piece. "It's not garbage. It's my art." I yelled back, voice shaking. Mom shook her head. "Art won't get you anywhere, Jack. We're doing this for your own good." I watched, numb, as they destroyed months of work. Tears streamed down my face, but they didn't even notice. The next day, I told Miss Thompson what happened. Her face hardened, her eyes fierce. "This ends now," she said. She reached into her drawer and pulled out a key. "Here, it's for the art supply closet. You can work here after school. I'll make sure no one disturbs you." For the next 2 weeks, I threw myself into recreating my piece. This time, it was darker, more raw. I painted a boy trapped in a glass box, watching his family laugh and celebrate on the other side. The boy's face was a mask of pain and longing. Meanwhile, the cameras at home kept rolling. They caught everything. Every dismissive comment, every ignored plea for attention, every moment of favoritism toward Mia. Jake helped me compile the footage, and my stomach churned as I watched my life play out on screen. "Dude, this is messed up," Jake whispered, shaking his head. I nodded, my face grim. "Yeah, but now we have proof." The night before the contest deadline, I finally finished my piece. Miss Thompson gasped when she saw it. "Jack, this is incredible. It's so powerful." I stared at the canvas, at the raw expression of my truth. "You think it has a chance?" I asked quietly. Miss Thompson squeezed my shoulder. "More than a chance. This could change everything." The day of the contest arrived, and my stomach twisted with nerves. I stood by my painting as judges and visitors passed by. Some stopped, staring at it with wide eyes, Others looked away, uncomfortable. Then, over the loudspeaker, I heard, "First place goes to Jack Anderson." I couldn't believe it. Me, first place. As I accepted the award, cameras flashed, and a reporter approached me. "Can you tell us about your piece?" I took a deep breath. It's about feeling invisible in your own home. About being pushed aside and forgotten. The reporter's eyes narrowed. "Is this based on personal experience?" I nodded, my voice barely steady. Yes, it is." That's when everything exploded. My story was everywhere. Local news, social media. Headlines screamed, "Talented artist exposes family neglect." A few days later, Child Protective Services showed up at our house. A few days later, I handed over the video evidence Jake and I had collected. The CPS worker's expression grew darker with each clip. When it ended, she looked at me, her eyes full of sympathy. "This is serious, Jack. You've been incredibly brave." My parents were in shock. They couldn't believe the image of their perfect family was unraveling. Mom burst into tears. "How could you do this to us?" she wailed. Dad was more direct. "You ungrateful little..." But he was cut off by the CPS worker. "Sir, I suggest you remain silent." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of interviews and court dates. My parents faced charges of neglect and emotional abuse. The look on their faces when the judge announced the verdict, guilty on all counts, was something I'll never forget. The court decided I should live with my Aunt Lisa and Uncle Tom, Mom's sister and brother-in-law. They were nothing like my parents. They helped me set up a real bedroom. No basement this time. "You're safe now, kiddo," Uncle Tom said, ruffling my hair. Aunt Lisa added, "And we're so proud of you." Those words, I'd waited my whole life to hear them. 2 years flew by. I'm in art school now, on a full scholarship. My work's been displayed in a few galleries, and I've even sold some pieces. Life's good. As for my parents, last I heard, they were struggling. Dad lost his job when the story broke, and Mom's perfect mother reputation shattered. They tried to reach out, but I'm not interested. Mia reached out recently, too. She's in college now and even gave up track. She said she wants to reconnect, to make things right. I thought about it for a long time before replying. "I'm glad you're doing well, Mia, but I'm not ready for a relationship. Maybe someday, but not now. Take care." When I hit send, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. My art, my dreams, my happiness. That's what matters now. Looking back, that scared kid in the basement feels like a different person. I made it out. I survived. And now I'm thriving. That's the best revenge of all. So here's my question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you ever forgive Mia? She knew what was happening, but stayed silent for years. Now she wants to reconnect. Is it too late for second chances, or should family always get another shot? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.